Somebody call Young Gravy, because this video is thumbnailed with a very good old classic "Oops baby" right there in the graphic. I saw this tweet by Stinky Man, Lil Moser Gaming, earlier the other day, and I wanted to react to this idea, just go over the players involved, and talk about whether or not this was a really big mistake. Stinky Man, with a very noticeable Chris Tanev profile picture, posted this on March 7th, 2025, to 65,000 views. Elias Lindholm and Nikita Zadorov wanted out of the Flames organization because they didn't want to be a part of a rebuild, just to go to the Boston Bruins selling this year. And the GIF is the father who's pretending not to laugh, but he is laughing really hard. And of course, it's kind of a shot at these two former Flames turned former Canucks turned former Bruins. This show is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Go out there and check out that first link in the description to save some money on your VPN, get some free months, and support this YouTube channel in the process. Let's dive into the NHL standings and take a look as to where the Boston Bruins lie in the 24-25 wildcard race. Right now, Boston, who are 2-6-2 in their last 10, have 66 points in 65 games played. They are 5th last in the Eastern Conference, and they are 3 points removed from a playoff spot. However, if you were to sort by points percentage, then it becomes a lot worse. The Bees are... where is that? Even further out. They are 4th last in the East in terms of points percentage. And with the Boston Bruins being in this spot where they're at, because last year we saw them produce very well. They were a top team in the Atlantic Division. They had 109 points, and everybody thought they were one of the best teams in the league. The Boston Bruins had some sort of a miracle season, where after the departure of Patrice Bergeron and David Krejci, with Brad Marchand getting the C, with Charlie McAvoy taking a step, with Ullmark and Swayman splitting the load as the 1-2, absolutely terrorizing the league for seasons upon seasons. Okay, seasons upon seasons, more like it was 1 or 2 seasons in a row. But to see the Bees have such a high level of success despite the aging core and despite the notable omissions from prior versions of the team, a lot of folks went out there and said, hey, this Boston Bruins team is on top of the world. They have some of the best goaltending, and a lot of these guys have gone out there and totally taken over the league. This 22-23 season saw Pastrnak put up a 113-point year. You had Ullmark and Swayman each with 920-plus save percentages. You had Vezina-caliber goaltending, only to get taken out in the playoffs in that second round. Or first round, excuse me. Yeah, Florida Panthers. That's exactly what it was in 22-23. But to see things go down the way they did next season, where there were still battles between the goaltending, who was going to be the 1, who was going to be the 2, you had a bunch of other guys stepping up, Pavel Zacha, Charlie Coyle, your top centers on the team, with the Boston Bruins having such a good tenure of success in 23-24, it was reasonable to assume that this team in 24-25 would continue that prosperity. Sure, Marchand is getting older, but Pastrnak is still that guy. You have Charlie McAvoy, who's getting better, and the goaltending, you're fully invested into Jeremy Swayman. You want him to be that next guy. You believe in him. You want him to take the next step as a true, undisputed number 1. But then the 24-25 season goes down. And to be fair, Pastrnak, still producing. Marchand, okay, maybe not producing as much, but he's up there. And the goaltending, oh boy, it's taken a really big step back. Jeremy Swayman, 898 save percentage. Michael DiPietro is the third guy here. And you want to think about the guys that this tweet in particular is calling out. Elias Lindholm and Nikita Zadorov both were a part of a Calgary Flames team in 2023-2024 that was selling. Everybody was getting sold from the Calgary Flames around this time. Sure, Zadorov and Lindholm were both sold to Vancouver in the 23-24 campaign, but these weren't the only guys. Hanifin, out. You had other defensemen like Tanev, also out. Jacob Markstrom, out. Tyler Toffoli, out. The Calgary Flames were going through a full-on retool on the fly, if not a rebuild, by sending away all of their older, expiring assets to other teams for younger players. They were picking up guys on waivers. They were doing all this moving around. And Lindholm and Zadorov did not want to be a part of a rebuilding team in Calgary. So, they sign in Boston. Zadorov gets a big money deal, $5 million a year. The contract length, it's 6 years long. Elias Lindholm gets a $7.75 million deal. This is a 7-year contract. Huge. Absolutely huge. But right now, Elias Lindholm is producing at a 40-point clip. He's on pace for 40 points in 82 games played, which would be a decent season, but is it $7.75 million worthy? Nikita Zadorov has brought bite to this Boston Bruins team. He's producing decently, on pace for 20 points in 82 games played this season, but ultimately the scoring, the goal producing that we had seen out of Zadorov in the playoffs last year with Vancouver, which is arguably why he even got this huge contract that he did, he's not bringing as much of that to this Boston Bruins team in 24-25. In fact, he's been a little bit careless with the penalties and the physicality and the defensive lapses. He hasn't been great. He's been fine. And you can say that $5 million a year till 2031 is a little bit expensive for the service that Zadorov provides. Both Zadorov and Lindholm chose Boston over Vancouver, who was trying to keep both of them, and Calgary, who was going through a rebuild. But now, the Bees ended up selling everybody. Brandon Carlo, gone. Brad Marchand, gone. Trent Frederick, gone. Charlie Coyle, gone. The Boston Bruins absolutely went Calgary Flames sicko mode on the rest of the NHL when it comes to selling their guys. And Lindholm and Zadorov are still here. Let's go out there and read some of the replies on this tweet. They got their bag, so now they can go to Cancun in April. Maybe they're the reason. They only care about the paycheck. They also didn't want to sign in Vancouver and then sign similar deals to what was offered in Boston. Bet if they could go back and make a different choice with both teams, they would. Thank gosh the Bruins saved the Canucks from having them both long-term. I was disappointed more for Zadorov not signing, but Marcus Pettersson is a much better D for the same cap hit. So all good. This is a really interesting idea. I actually do think that that's a much better title here. How the Boston Bruins saved the Vancouver Canucks from themselves. It is interesting because this tweet is also correct too. A lot of the talking points with the Vancouver Canucks and the Boston Bruins between these two players, the dollar amounts and the contracts that were reported to have been offered to these players by Vancouver were kind of similar to what they got with the Bees. It's just Elias Lindholm wasn't really a fan of signing in a situation where he would be the third-line center behind Miller and Pettersson. Of course, we all know how that turned out because Pettersson's not playing like a top guy and Miller's gone. And Nikita Zadorov wanted another year. So, thinking about how Boston stepped in and gave these guys what they asked for, Boston gave Elias Lindholm a top center spot. How long did that last? Not long. And then you had Nikita Zadorov. He got the extra year. Now, the Boston Bruins aren't really too great. The defense, it's okay, but the goaltending. Oh my gosh, Jeremy Swayman has been really bad in comparison to what he's done in the past, and the Bees started selling everybody out too. All these guys are gone. Brad Marchand is no longer a Bruin, and I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comments section below as to whether or not the Boston Bruins really did save the Vancouver Canucks from themselves in this situation. Lindholm and Zadorov wanted out of the Flames because they didn't want to be a part of the rebuild. Now, they're in Boston, and it seems like they're going through a rebuild. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about this entire thought process and whether or not this is a valid conversation to have. Bees fans, Boston fans, what are your thoughts on this entire discussion here? I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.